Hi, everybody. This is Chris,
And I'm Jason Cook.
and we are talking today about Tower and Dragon, an upcoming game uh, that you have made. I understand. Did you make it alone?
Yes,
Wonderful.
the audio is from Stephen Baker. He had made it years ago for me, like or early 2000s.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
it just seemed like a great audio track. So I contacted Sharu and he converted it and made some awesome audio for the intro to the game, the splash screen.
Nice. So one of the things I like to do right away to get just sort of out of the way for everybody at home, aside from letting everyone know, this is casual. Uh, we go off the rails. We might not be talking about Tower and Dragon the entire time. We'll see how it goes. But you are doing this as part of an upcoming Kickstarter. So,
That's correct.
do
Yeah.
you want to do any little plug here? Tell them where they can find out more information and all that stuff. And
Absolutely. You just go to toweranddragon.com and that will have the Kickstarter link in it as well as info. This is version 4.0, so there's definitely a history
mm-hmm.
with the actual game. Um, this is the most current iteration, and it was really grueling to build it.
Oh,
Uh,
I'll bet you
and
built it on
that's
a
that's
Commodore
why I
PET.
started the Kickstarter. The others are free.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What?
I was gonna say, I'm sure it was grueling. You made it for the Commodore PET with 8K. I was gonna say that the second most surprising thing though is you got toweranddragon.com. Like that wasn't taken.
Yeah, I was really happy about that. And right now it's just a redirect onto I run a Hubzilla instance,
Okay.
and so it just goes to where I've just got some information about Tower and Dragon. But it'll eventually be its own web page.
Okay.
Um, and when I mean eventually, I mean with it, before the Kickstarter finishes,
Wonderful.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I got to start asking this because a lot of people have jumped on Kickstarter bandwagons to try and make money and then disappear. But I've actually played through a full game of this already. Before we even came on, I got to try it and see at least as much as you can. I can say there's a whole game here. So even if you stopped now, there would still be something to like put out. So that raises my first question of what's the Kickstarter for?
So I ended up making so much effort into this. Uh, I I feel like it's at this point with the amount of hours that I put in, I can't do it for free.
Yeah, right.
It's that simple. It just feels, and I've put my heart and soul into it. And you can still play the free versions.
Mm-hmm.
Version 3 has quite a bit of functionality. Everything that you're seeing on the zone that's being explored right now is almost identical to version 3.
Okay.
So you can play a great game for free, and if you want all the enhancements that were added into 4.0,
Got it.
which 4.0 started uh, in earnest January of 2025.
Okay.
Prior to that, since 3.0, I'd pick it up every now and then and look for ways to optimize memory. You know, uh,
It's that old
but
saying that games are never finished, they're abandoned. Yeah.
very true. And I did. I kept playing with it to see if I could find some unique method to find more memory. And then I had a eureka moment,
Yeah.
thanks to Masswork, uh, his pet emulator, Norbert Landsteiner. He put a visual memory map, um, and that visual memory map was
Oh,
was
that has to be
epic
huge.
for me because you just see where there's unclaimed memory.
Mm-hmm.
and while my program runs through all the program space, it's all those other little pieces that the operating system says reserved. you
Right.
know?
Well, and I think a lot of people, especially people today, and especially when you look back at people who are developing for like the Apple II or Commodore 64, which seems to be the main retro markets, like I'm stuck between two questions I want to ask you next. One is why the Commodore PET, and the other one is how do you explain to someone that this is only 8K?
Um, okay, so why the Commodore PET?
Yeah.
Back in 1978, Dad brought a Commodore PET home,
Hmm.
and I can't thank him enough because that pretty much created my entire career.
Yeah.
I was completely enthralled. I think at the time, I'm fairly certain it was 78, but give or take a year. Well, it would be either 78 or 79.
Right.
And it had micro chess. And of course, you do a list on that. It's just a system call because the whole thing's in assembly language. And I do have to plug for Peter Jennings, absolute genius to build micro chess for the Commodore PET with only 8K.
Oh, I'm sure.
He also made it for the Kim
Okay.
prior to the PET being out. So he had a 4K and an 8K version. And I'm not a chess player, but I know how much work that was. It's a masterpiece,
Yeah.
absolute masterpiece of a game. But really, what started my career in programming, I was a Dungeons and Dragons player way back then.
Yeah.
And when Cursor Magazine, which was just a tape cassette with a whole bunch of basic programs on it, when it came out with this game called Dungeon, and I saw that you could make stuff that was Dungeons and Dragons like on it, um, that that made me want to learn Basic, and I did learn Basic. I never understood that game because it was
Right.
peaks and pokes, but it started my career.
Mhm.
And within, let's see, by the time 1980 rolled around,
Mhm.
we had an Apple II, and I rewrote or I wanted to make an enhanced Dungeons, so to
Right.
speak, using 48K and all the power and everything I had learned from programming. And so I did in 1980, and I made all these different levels, and it was an okay game. It wasn't any Ultima or anything like that,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I was proud of it. I think it was very good for my age. I was 13 at the time, and it was great. I had to make level editors, level designers. I had to have something for inputting monsters,
Right.
and so it had a lot of power to it. Um, and so when I first started building version 1.0, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if I use these levels
Mm.
uh, from 1980 in this game? And so I imported them, I coerced them, I compressed them so that they could fit in the 8K requirement.
Yeah.
Instead of it being on low resolution graphics, as you see, we've got actual trees and water and all that
I
kind of thing.
think that's one of the things that surprised me the most when I fired it up. I expected much less. Like I went in, I knew it was going to be tight, but to see tiles, like I would think of tiles from an Ultima or a Questron or anything like that, that they're animated. I mean, they're not super animated, but they're animated, and you
Right,
did it on a pet. Yeah.
they can have up to 4 animations per for motion,
Hmm.
background and monsters. Typically I stick with 2 because, well, memory, you know, but you'll definitely see it, and you've got a nice map that was up there. And in the first version, when I was testing it, I had my friend playing it, and he got to the zone where I have that terrible quest where she asks you to find all the gold on the level. And of course, that's a nightmare because there's all these hidden passageways. You just run into a wall and you go through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
And so I felt really bad. And I didn't have any memory at the time. I don't even think I had audio made for the game because I was out of memory. Um, and so I built a map, and I'm really happy I did because, man, this game, it changed it. I always had Fog of War. I always wanted that in there.
Right.
It makes it feel different. You know, it's not an Ultima feel where it's more, you know, line of sight-ish.
Right.
It's more, okay, you've got where you've explored, so you can uncover where your secret doors are. You know,
That was the main way I used that map, and I was really surprised to see it in here because I know that's not like when every byte matters. A quality of life feature like that is a huge investment, but it really did make, like, even this first area, it gave me, okay, there's got to be a secret door here-ish. I don't know where here-ish, but I know here-ish, and I could then travel that way and start trying to find things. And it felt a little more like I was actually doing some deductive work and didn't have to just hit search every 5 feet to make sure I found everything.
right, exactly. I don't know if you want to cut over at this point, but I
Sure.
kind of wanted to bring up my level designer if you wanted to.
Yeah, I can bring that up if you're ready.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I do a catalog, um, you know, the level designer is called Saving Low, and obviously I was a great speller back then.
Oh,
I'm a little better now, but I'm honestly I'm
I'm
dyslexic and
not,
spelling
so
is
yeah.
just not. uh, I'm gonna go ahead and run this, okay? And we're going to load the notorious level 3 where the lady gives the quest, okay? And this will kind of show you what these levels look like in their raw form.
Love it.
Okay. And so what you have is, and I'll show you the color map. You can see I can move my cursor around.
Mm-hmm.
This was all programmed in 1980.
That's
I
crazy
did
to
make
me.
some mods for it, just minor stuff. Like when I press for the color palette, I updated these to things that I use commonly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only ones guaranteed are like secret door is always going to be 3. And your stairs down and stairs up are always 5 and 6. Other than that, it kind of everything can transform and be something different.
Right.
For example, trees on the first level that you were showing, that entry level, trees are 0.
Okay.
Okay. But it just kind of gives you a feel and where things move around. Monster passages are basically locations where they can travel through it, but you can't.
I noticed that in a couple of places. I'm like, why can I not get through this wall?
Yeah, and you'd see that monster go right through it. He didn't have any problem. You know, and that's part of the evil of a 12 or 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Sure, some of that's left from there. The 8 stop is basically, it's a blocker for monsters by default. Again, everything kind of changes because I have then bit fields and exclusive ore matrix that cause things to turn on and off. But that's, and then 9 is monsters. So there is a start location for all monsters. And you can kind of go through this, okay, but some of these areas, okay, in this case, what you're seeing here is when you're walking through this map, this appears as if it's a wall.
Right.
Okay, but you can walk right through it. Okay, and the reason why I'm showing this map is I see no reason why not to
Right.
show where all the secret places are.
Yeah.
It's already going to be hard to capture all the gold on this level,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a really nice reward, you know, not only monetary, but health-wise.
Right.
So if you get stuck, rather than ditching it, bring up this map and you will see how to complete it. um, so, but yeah, and you can see as I walk over each one, it tells what the color is. So I can tell that that is a A.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these you can see they're like lanterns, you know, and you know, just different stuff, tables, chairs, etc.
That was another thing that surprised me. There's so many, like I remember from the early 80s, were just like, here's walls, the black is the floor, good luck. And you had decorations, you had things in people's houses. You were doing that very, you know, well for a computer from this age.
And part of it is just me going down an insane rabbit hole and not dropping it. You know?
Right.
So part of that is my insanity. You know, and one other thing I will point out is these ones that are 7, they do have a default value, but they're also in a lookup table. And so if they're a 7, they may be the standard 7, or they could be anything else.
Okay.
Even past the 16, you know, so like 22, for example, or something like that. And so that gave me a more variety for special places, you know, where you can, like if you're talking to someone, if it gives you a warning, you know, go back and save first, that sort of thing, or it just teleports you, blindly teleports you. That's how all those work, is through the 7. So, any questions?
No, but I do. I mean, it's something like, to see something like this being used on old computers, and this is still sort of the exact same way like when I'm making my own tile-based games. I just grab from a picture and look at the colors in each pixel and like that's what that tile is supposed to be, because it's so much easier to draw out your map when you can see the map than just doing it in numbers or trying to keep it in your head.
Exactly. And let me tell you, having gold be yellow, that's kind of important.
You need to see that stuff at a glance. Yeah.
And the original game, you know, it was not much of anything in comparison. I did have the Fog of War, which is why I started with that. But the Fog of War, if you were standing where my white cursor is here, okay, all you could see is this area right around you.
Yeah.
The direct pixels that were adjacent. It didn't see like my current one where it's like, oh, you can see down this way because you're standing here.
Yeah.
You know, and fill the screen. You know, and it was literally, the game was written for the low resolution graphics screen, and I had all the text for the combat and everything down in this area.
Nice.
You know, and I wish I could recover the game just for posterity, but unfortunately it's long gone. I'm glad I have the level editor, quite honestly. It made a great transformation. And while I'm talking about things that are old, a lot of the campaign from my Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which I started at this time, I did it iteratively. And that wasn't a thing at that time, or at least I didn't know of anyone else doing that, you know, at the time at least. And so the same campaign was occurring when I was in college. And, you know, even after college, I finished, let's see, I probably started that around 11 or 12. And we played almost weekly until I was 28, got married. And then I would play over the summers when my wife's brother would come and visit. And we'd wake up the D&D campaign, and some of the ideas and concepts for the story, as you saw it, are right from that campaign.
Oh, nice.
A lot of stuff has changed, of course. I've fitted in, but so there's a lot of history in this game that goes back to things much older.
Yeah, you put a lot of yourself into it. It was something I caught earlier when you were talking about how you got your start because your dad brought home a Commodore PET. You got to start doing D&D. I'm wondering how many of us old computer programmers were like, Well, we wanted to put D&D on a computer. And now I'm still on a computer. And it just sort of kind of kept going that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and my first computer experience um, was probably a year prior, and my dad worked at a power company, and he's like he brought both my brother and I in because they had a mainframe with a teletype where it punched out everything you had,
Mm-hmm.
and he showed us a version of Star Trek, and we were like, "Oh my God!" You know?
I keep looking at Super Star Trek to this day and like there's something there. I know this can be modernized. I know it can.
Yeah, yep. So, and in fact, there's a version on Archive
Hmm.
where I dumbed it down from 16K down to 8, a version
Oh,
of Super
nice.
Star Trek, so that you can play it on the original Commodore PETs with just 8K.
That's very cool.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but that's all I have as far as mapping goes. I can show you how easy it is. I mean, I can modify this very easy. I just start drawing.
Just start adding
You
stuff.
know?
That's great. I mean, it's so nice to have just a good tool that lets the programming's hard enough. Then you got to do content on top of it. Like,
Right. So yeah, really, really easy to build and shrink.
hmm.
And if you didn't gather by this little notch in the top left here, there's some reserve bytes up here. and
I'm gonna be
and
honest.
that's what
That little notch in the upper left had me like I was walking around and going search, bumping into it. Like, is there something here or what's going on? And so knowing
and
that
then
it's
you
just for
found it on
reserved
every
bytes,
zone.
that's wonderful.
But yeah, it was reserved in the original game, and I held true to that.
Good, good, a great
I
call.
don't even know what it was reserved for on the original game, but yeah, it's still reserved.
Good.
um, but yeah, that's and so I kept that, and then I had a conversion program. Let me go ahead and close this. I think I'm done with the Apple side. So, and then what this does is the original one was written in C, but I just couldn't live with it being old, so I rewrote it in Rust.
Nice.
Um, and what that does when I convert it is put it into the format that my game needs,
Hmm.
and it also shows a distribution. So, like if I needed more text or something, oh well, look, 2 isn't being used on
Right.
this thing. Okay, so by seeing that distribution, that helps me quite a bit with being able to see. And this shows, okay, well, this level has 13 gold.
Mhm.
Okay, and by me knowing now that it's got 13 gold, the max you can have just because of the amount of bits I have is 16 for obvious reasons. It's
Right.
no big mental leap to know that the max is
What?
16.
It's a mystery to us all.
um, but your typical levels, none are going to be less than 12,
Hmm.
and they're typically going to be 14, 15. But gold is important because that's where you get your armor, and it
Hmm.
gets your static treasure as
Yeah.
well. Okay, and there's a finite amount of gold, and we were talking about that in chat.
Yeah.
You were afraid to go buy upgrades because you knew that you had a fixed amount of gold.
When I saw, like, I went through the first level and took care of everything and then got to the second and came back and noticed all the monsters are back, but none of the gold's back. I'm like, oh, gold's fixed. Okay. What am I going to do about that? Because I have played so many games where to buy everything costs like 9,000 gold, but the game contains 7,000 gold. So you're
Right.
not going to get to pick something. So then I got real hesitant and it changed the way I played a little bit. But
Well, and I do like some of that constraint,
mm-hmm.
which is why I kept it that way.
Yeah,
I wanted it to where you had to. I mean, you're not going to buy a heal spell the moment a heal potion
right.
every time you have 100 gold. You know that you're going to run out, and you may not have enough for upgrades for important fights if you were to do that.
Right.
But there is enough gold as
Mhm.
long as you keep your heals for tough bosses, and you do your upgrades when you start getting, okay, I'm turning into a paperweight here.
Right.
You know? I better
That's where
I
I
better
got to. I got much more self conscious and much more thoughtful about how I played the game instead of just slamming through it. And
Right, exactly. And so, and the upgrades do, and one thing I will say too, okay, because there is a possibility, you notice that we've only got 13 gold here.
mm-hmm.
Okay, the chance for you getting the armor upgrade for that zone, okay, is 20% per gold.
Yeah.
So you're looking at no more than a 10%, I think 8%, maybe 7% chance of you not getting it, which means you may not get the armor on that zone.
Right.
Okay. That happens on 2 zones in a row. You're not going to be happy.
No.
You could you could buy upgrades, okay, which can help
Right.
combat that. But at the same time, always know that when you level, okay, when your character gets more powerful, when you level, it increases your ability to hit,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and it also increases your damage, okay.
Yeah.
So even if if you grind, which you're not going to have to grind often, at least I don't think you do. How much should you have to grind, Chris?
Not too much. And I usually did because it just was easier sometimes than I'm close to a level. I'm gonna go just hit another one and level up. Or man, I think I got here a smidge too soon. Like I skipped some stuff on the last level. So if I go back and touch, and it was towards the end. Like it was
Yeah,
very
and
much.
I know that if I get too aggressive and I get to the ogre boss, he
Mm-hmm.
totally annihilates me.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then I just find where that heal thing is and train him
Mm-hmm.
because he's an intro boss, so I make it real easy for you to train him to where you have unlimited health pretty much.
Right. Yeah. I figured a couple of those things out too. I'm like, oh, if I do this, I can take most things, but I got to get them back here and I got to do this.
And where you're exploring, okay, if you notice those flaming things that you just passed up at the top,
Mm-hmm.
the torchy kind of
Yeah.
things, that is actually one of the 4 animation type things where it's using all 4 of the sequence.
Yeah.
Um, and it adds a nice touch of polish.
It makes
Um,
it feel like you feel like this game could have come out in 1977, but if it did, it was put out by like a top tier someone from back then. It really hits that sweet spot of I'm
well,
getting all
thank
my
you.
nostalgia, but it's good.
Yeah. So and uh, yeah, it was. I did a lot of suffering to get there,
I'm
for,
sure.
for lack of a better word. But at the same time, it was really enjoyable. I
Right.
mean, I would do this before work in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have my first cup of coffee and I'd start programming on the game. How
Right.
can I optimize? Almost always started with how can I get this? I need 30 bytes
It's
today.
it really is a different mindset from retro coders on how they approach things and what they do. It's you're so worried about memory and down to the byte. We're like the people I work with at work now. We don't ever worry about memory. Like that's not a thing we care about.
Yeah,
We're
it's
not going to use up 8 gigs. Come on, I'm writing a payroll program.
exactly. Yep.
Oh. So while we're talking about retro stuff and how you got into this, what other CRPGs did you play growing up?
So I actually have the one of the first games. Okay, so just give me a second
Yeah, no
here.
problem.
So these, I don't know how well they'll show up on the video feed, but I'll put them in front of my
We'll give
face.
them a shot.
Okay, so let's see
Oh,
here.
yeah, you got it there. What am I looking at? Oh my
And
God! Wow, where did
that
you get
is,
that?
this is mine.
Oh man.
Okay, and you can tell by the oil stains. This
Mm-hmm.
happened, of course, on all disc labels.
It was
But this
loved.
is the original Acalabeth, and I remember I just loved it. And of course, I found out how to break into it, and when it
Mm-hmm.
was actually listable, I was like, "Whoa, this is all basic," you know. And it's Lord British, of
Yeah.
course, you know. So that was a big one. This is my original
Oh, nice, 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 nice.
wizardry.
Yes.
Okay. And unfortunately, I don't have my ultimates by pure random chance that I kept these. You know, you move so many
Right.
times, you're gonna go
Stuff gets
throw
lost.
stuff
Stuff gets
away.
damaged. Yeah.
Now, I did pick up, I had to find this, and so I found this on eBay, and
Oh.
this is micro chess.
Oh,
Okay, I don't think
nice.
it's showing up. And I cracked it enough to back it up because who knows how long this tape is going to
Mm-hmm.
continue. And I need to contact them because I'd love to put that on archive
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's the version that works with the original ROM 1. They have a version up there, but it's not the version that works with the ROM 1 Commodore PET.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be great. And yeah, I see you're exploring
I
the
was gonna say
river now.
this is one of the things I definitely wanted to take a moment and talk about because when I got in a boat and there was different vehicles, I'm like, okay, we're in. I look for little things that I think most people wouldn't notice in a game or think of as a big deal. But the switch to vehicles was that moment in this game for me where it went from this is a cute dungeon crawler to somebody put some effort in. So you know what I
And this
mean?
is, yes, I absolutely. This is the very first thing I started with 4.0. Showing I wanted to show some muscle, you
Mm-hmm.
know, with the new code and being able to switch context where you can't leave the river unless you're a specific junction point where we go in, you know,
In and
where
out.
you're at a
Yep.
dock basically. And then you can switch context, and once you're exploring land, then you're not able to go into the water.
Right.
So that switch of context, it was huge. Um, Before that, I did do a lot of internal plumbing because I wanted a distance spell. I don't know if
Mm.
you have any footage of
I
the
don't. I didn't want to go too far and start spoiling stuff towards the end, but I do think those are worth talking about.
sure. And I wanted the distance spell to fill the whole screen. So I think it may go end 2 pixels shy on the left and right side of
Okay.
you. It does have collision detection, so like if there's a tree in the way, it's gonna stop at the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I put the collision detection, and when you first get it, it's just a great distance spell for monsters that are running away from you because
Mm-hmm.
if you die, they're going to be at full health and they're going to be charging. You're going to have to whittle them back down again. So having a distance spell, but it's wimpy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so you go to the enchanter. Um, and you find out, oh, there is an upgrade for it, and the upgrade is 1,000 gold. Well, and 1,000 gold means you're
It's a lot.
planning like 8 or 9 zones in before you're able to possibly even come close to that amount. But when you pay the 1,000, it transforms it into the most powerful thing in the game.
Yeah.
It's more powerful than your main weapon. It's guaranteed to hit. Now you only have 3 charges,
Right.
and then you gain an additional charge whenever you kill a monster. Um,
Yeah. Which I didn't
so
notice right away, and you might have even said it somewhere in there, but I'm, fat fingering it through my first playthrough, and that's when I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting charges back. Oh, okay, I can work with this.
right, right, and it did say it when you initially received it,
Hmm.
but there's a point of information overload too.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but it's easy to see, you know, that as you get farther and you start depending on it, you realize you're getting more charges.
Well, and one of the things I'll say too, like, I don't want to make it sound too scary where, like, I didn't notice something or I didn't something right away, because the final words right away is always key. Um, I figured my way through the whole thing with a couple stumbling spots, but then figured them out and felt smart for figuring them out because they're there, they're obvious, you can get through it. Didn't need to like call you and be like, why isn't this working? How do I get through here? I thought there might have been a bug with the town at first, but no, that was me. I just wasn't getting something right. So
Sure, sure.
yeah.
And in fact, I wanted to go over that. Let me bring up my emulator here, um, and I'll share that on my screen. This is an internal link
Okay.
that I have. Okay, let me
Here.
make it bigger so that it's taking more. There's no reason for it to not take most of the
Yeah.
screen.
Show it
And
off.
what I have here, like if you were to play this from a phone, you've got nice big buttons
Yeah.
so that you can actually see it. But if you're playing it on the computer, you can collapse that. And I've got these nice emulation speeds up here at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're impatient and you don't want to play it like the original Commodore PET, um, you know, you've got the option, and it's crazy fast at 4x. I'll show that in a second.
Oh yeah, dude. Because I never kicked it up. I saw those up there, and I'm like, I'm having a fine time. I don't need. I'm not that impatient.
Okay, so if I kick this to, okay, so here's your normal movement speed, just
Mm-hmm.
so everyone sees it.
Yeah.
Okay, and if I put it at 4x,
Oh wow. Yeah, you book.
okay, and yeah, and the problem is that if there's something small, in this case it's big, so I know it's there. But
Right.
if it's something small like a rat,
You might not
you're
even
going to be
notice.
dead. You're going to mow right through it, not even realize it. But it, you know, I did want to keep the 4x in there because, you know, especially if you're traveling a lot and you're impatient, um, you know, a lot of younger people have
Mm-hmm.
less patience for stuff like that too. So, you know, it makes it where it's approachable
I
by
could see like
everyone.
cleaning out a floor or two, and you're like, I know there's one more gold on here. Where is it? But the monsters are
Exactly. Yeah.
gone, so can get
Right.
around
So
again.
just fly around and find that extra gold, and then slow it back down. But you can see that monster. That was hard to put in there too, but it was one of my core requirements for version 4.0. I wanted to make it where the monsters, some of the monsters, there's some that are fearful. When they get low on health, they run away.
Yeah,
They're not smart. Nothing's smart in here. It's an 8K system.
right. But they were smarter than I think a lot of things that came out at the time of the pet. Like you do have stuff that runs away. You do have stuff that uses range. You do have stuff that will, like, they will chase you, but they'll get stuck
Right.
on walls, but they'll still come for you. Like you've got a little brains, but not a lot.
And of course he's at 0 health, which is just terrible because I know he's one hit away.
Right.
You know,
You just gotta tap
and
him.
the problem is if I die by any other monster, he wakes back up to full health and he comes and seeks you out and tries to attack you. I
No,
know
I
we
thought that
mentioned
was
that
a
already,
great
but
mechanic though. The first time I was like, "Oh, that sucks," but then I'm like, "No, that's what's needed. Otherwise, you just keep dying and fighting them again and dying and fighting them again."
exactly. Now, what you're seeing here is I've interfaced with that. So if a file is, you know, ends with the suffix .sav,
Mm-hmm.
my code intercepts the PET emulator and it allows you to load that file locally. Okay. So this makes it more playable
Mm-hmm.
since you're working with modern equipment. Okay. And so if I go to, let's see, I'll just use, this is where I completed zone 3. I made a whole bunch of saves like that so I can get to the start of any zone. Okay. Then, you know, it's saved there. Or I mean, I've gone to that save point. Okay. And you can tell now I'm level 8 and it shows all my stuff. quite happy I got the Talon. That's, it's random drop
Yeah,
from I think it's from a harpy,
that sounds
but
right. Yeah.
it's some sort of flying creature on the river zone that you were exploring.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a small chance, it's not guaranteed to drop, just like, you're not guaranteed a certain gold amount.
Right.
Um, you know, and so basically, now I'm at that level, and when you load it, okay, notice I'm still on zone 0 here. Okay, and this is an area you got stuck on, as you didn't know how to advance in zone. Did you want to talk about that?
Well, so right, so like it just says zone 04. So my initial thought was I'm in zone 04, and I went past it and I'm like, but it's saying this is how I'm supposed to get to the next zone. And then I thought about it a second and I'm like, hang on, 2, and uploaded the next screen.
Right, and this means that I can choose it.
Right.
That's exactly right. And it is kind of cryptic, but again, when you have limited memory, I only have so many ways to say something.
Right.
And so I tried to make it, with the parentheses, you see the S and G, and
Mm-hmm.
then I put that. But I can press 0 through 4 here. So I can go back and explore. I could go back to this zone,
Right.
which is pretty much just going to reset the fog of war that I've already started here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or I can go to any of the zones I've already explored.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if I go to 1, for example, you see, the game is made to play linearly.
Mm-hmm.
But this also helps you re-understand what the plot was too.
Yes.
You
I
know?
really, once I understood what it was, and obviously before I even got to the second zone, I figured it out. But the ability to go back and look at what was happening in the plot, and the ability to maybe replay a level again, like I don't think I got everything out of there, or I just want to grind a little bit, but the first zone is too easy, and I can just fast forward to whatever zone I had the best time grinding in. I thought that was really nice because it really let me pick how and where I wanted to play the game. So even though it was linear, I actually got to attack it in a non-linear fashion.
Great, great. I'm so glad to hear that. Uh, I'm really proud of this. I'm proud of the way it turned out.
You
You
should
know,
be. There's a lot of good work in here. What would you say you're most proud of in here? Is there some, one moment where you're like, this is the thing that if I remember nothing else in this game, this thing is my most important.
for 4.0, it was getting that distance spell in
Mm-hmm.
because and then level design. So proud of it. And I'll talk about that a little further later. But some of those levels are actually, I can talk about it now. Okay, the epic conclusion to the Lich
Mm-hmm.
scenario. Okay, that's not the end of the game, but it's the conclusion to the Lich
Right.
scenario. Okay, um, that zone, it has frost giants where you have mass terraform of ice blocks where the walls collapse. Okay, and then the way that the Lich actually works was so much work.
Oh, I'm
So
sure.
because I had no memory, and trying to figure out how to do that, and I wanted that zone to be epic. Um,
I can say it was that those ice walls and I think the stagecoach are gonna be like the two big things that stick with me from this game. Is like moments where I will probably hold on. If I don't remember anything else, I'm gonna remember those two moments.
yep, and I'm going to go back to the stagecoach. So I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, the fire, going over the fire. Of course, it's not epic. You have boats which are similar and that sort of thing, but you kind of feel like things are going to play a certain way,
Yeah.
and it plays different.
Yep.
And so it was fun, and it did take more bites, as everything. But I think that the end result was excellent.
Yeah.
Um, going back to the stagecoach, which kind of is setting up for the Lich zone. I don't think it gives what too much away, but that
No.
whole scenario with the Lich and he's in the stagecoach that's being pulled, by horses. And when you walk up over there, you realize whenever he sees you, you're dead.
Yep.
Okay. And that's from my D&D game. My wife was new to D&D playing.
Oh no.
She was playing she was she was playing a thief, okay?
Uh-huh.
And she was level 1. And I had, for setting up the later game, I had where I had this Lich that was just passing through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you would meet back up with him much, much farther in the campaign. And she goes, well, I want to steal from it. And I go, are you sure you want to do this? You're probably going to
I
end up
don't think
having
you
to
do want to
reroll
do
your
what you just
character.
said. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I want to steal from the Lich. Okay, so I checked to see if she was, because immediate fear,
Mm-hmm.
and she made that saving throw. And what it came down to is I made an arbitrary 2 to 3% chance of success on rolling a D100,
Right.
and she was successful,
Oh.
and it changed the whole game. And it was something we'll never
Yeah.
forget. She ended up stealing from that Lich, and so that's why that was in there, that whole little part, and that's why you had to go and steal from the Lich.
I had
Uh,
a very similar thing happen with my wife in our D&D campaign where she was a druid, she's playing a druid, and we had found this old abandoned druid grove. And she's like, well, maybe if I start cleaning it up, I can bring it back to what it was. What was being guarded by these shambling mounds, and the party's getting pounded on by them and starting to flee. And she walks up to one and she's like, stop it, stand down. And I'm like, they should crush you, but I'm gonna, out of humor to myself, let you make like a persuasion check kind of thing, roll the dice, natural 20. And I'm like, so she just got the grove then, because I don't know what else to do with a natural 20 when you control the guardians. Like,
exactly. But it's moments like that that define the campaign. Those are
yeah.
what you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it had such an imprint. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to start with that.
Yeah.
And it also had where I had to put an area where you got killed on sight, which was something that hadn't been in the game
Right.
before. And of course, when you respawn, you're on top of the stairs,
Mm-hmm.
which added some complexity, because when you're on top of the stairs, it tells you what zone do you want to go to.
Right.
So you wouldn't know why you were killed.
Right.
So I had to actually prompt and say, you were killed by a Lich, press X to exit.
Yeah.
because,
It was.
because if I go ahead.
I was gonna say, it surprises me because, like, in many games, and I think because you only pulled this once, like that sort of, I wander into something and I just die. Normally, that just immediately is like, I hate that. That's bad game design. But in this case, I kind of knew as I was walking towards it, I'm like, this is a bad idea. And then when it was reset, it wasn't too far back. I'm like, okay, I've got something to figure out. This is a puzzle. And yeah, it's one of those, like, I flipped this to make it happen, but no, it's all good.
Well, and thankfully Rickles traveled before you, because I didn't have that one message telling you what you needed to do right before.
Yeah.
And my other players were seasoned. I have a lot, play
Right.
testers that have been around forever. Since the first version. And they kind of, I guess, know my style now. So they were able to trip through it until they got it. But he did get through it, but he absolutely hated it, and he missed the message that he even got something from the Lich.
Right.
because, by the time it was like, oh, thank God, I'm finally through this. And so adding that one message made a
Huge
huge
difference.
difference.
Huge difference.
So,
I mean, is there anything else like that you like had to change up for quality of life, or just modernizing this over what that we might not
the
notice if we didn't ask?
is the my biggest play tester is my wife, Kimberly.
Mm-hmm.
And when she went through it, okay, the snake boss with Sheriff, okay, I was so proud of that zone. It was so hard to do. So hard to do. I couldn't wait for her to do it. Just couldn't wait. And I made the boss a tough fight. I made it a really tough fight. In fact, I made it so tough she couldn't beat it.
Oh
And the problem is she wanted to beat it.
no. Mm-hmm.
So she wouldn't let me fix it. She wouldn't let me nerf it.
Mm-hmm.
Just playing and playing it and playing it until she never wanted to play my game again.
Yeah.
And it shows why playtesting is so important,
Mm-hmm.
because she was bitter by the time I nerfed, and then she understood and let me nerf it, and I had to nerf it twice actually.
Yeah.
Because I could win, but again, it was just way too tough.
But the stuff under the hood, you're like, I can win because I can do this and this and this.
Exactly. It required too much exact timing, and I'm not making my game for all expert players. I want casual players to be able to play and win.
Yeah.
And it can be as intense, and if you notice as I go through these, okay, like if I got the 100 gold. You're not supposed to see that one.
That's okay.
Well, that's a reward for finding all those gold. I don't think it needs to be edited out if you want to skip through that.
Yeah.
Or make it a little shorter, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it made a huge difference. If it wasn't for Kimberly on those first tests, I mean, I would complete a zone after working 40, 50 hours on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she would go through and play it, and that would get me where I could see how it actually played out.
Right.
And most of the times I got it right first try. She absolutely loved the river zone, the first one that you saw. And she loved the whole thing with the lich, but she had to take a lot of breaks, especially on that the ending zone with the final fight with the lich. At the time, I was more frugal with the gold too.
Yeah.
So when she actually was there, she didn't have the upgrade for the direct damage spell,
Right.
which really helps. And I'm not going to tell how it helps, but it really helps.
Okay.
And so she figured out that she could take just the gold and ignore the fight.
I want to say that's what I did.
And she couldn't get all the gold, but she got enough to get 1,000 gold.
Mm-hmm.
And then she took them on because she had the upgrade. And I'm probably saying too much as it is, but it is what it is.
I mean, I don't think you've said anything that totally spoils the game or the story or removes anybody's desire to play. So I think
one thing I will point out is you would think, okay, well, it has all these zones 0 through 9. Mm-hmm. There are some zones that have sub ones. For example, when you first went in, you went to the village.
Right.
The village technically is another zone, but it's a sub. It's not a place you can go to. You have to press 0 and then walk over there.
Right.
Okay. The same holds true with Zone 2. Mm-hmm. Zone 2 has subzones. One is the mountain subzone, and then the next is Castle Bulwark.
Right.
And once you get through, so it's very hard to get to Zone 3. Once the 2 subzones close out, when you finish the mountains, mm-hmm. you're done with the mountains. You can't go back.
Right.
Okay, the same holds true with Castle Bulwark.
Right.
Okay, and I will warn you, this zone, while you can go back to it, zone 2, it forever changes after the final conflict with the Lich.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so you can't gain the gold
Yeah.
if you didn't get the gold prior to the Lich. And so I know some of those players that want to get really good scores, you
Right.
know, that hint will help a lot and
Yeah.
stop you from having to play again.
I know I'll say too, like, you managed to hit just about the right length where I felt like I got a game coming in at about 8 to 9 hours, and it never overstayed its welcome. I was never like, can I just be done with this zone or this game? Or like, I never got sick of it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate hearing that.
that's a
It makes
tough
me feel
balance.
good with all the work invested.
Yeah,
Um, and uh, you know, it it started here. Okay, so if I go back and I mentioned the memory map,
mm-hmm.
okay, but being able to see it really helps give clarity. So let me see if I expand this out a little bit. Okay, and where is his debugger? Why am I not seeing it? Do I not have it? There it is. Okay, so you hit this, okay, and you get a regular step tracer. So you've got a nice little logic analyzer off to the side,
Nice.
which is no different than Vice or any of the others.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what it can do is you've got this. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Now that I'm looking for it, I'm not seeing it.
Oh, of
Where
course.
is he's got this visual memory map, and now I'm not seeing it. I've halted. Why am I not seeing his memory map? Okay, well, I'll explain it though. The visual memory map, and I know I touched on this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed me to see unclaimed areas. Like you can see that these 44s are likely just uninitialized
Right.
bytes here. Okay, and by you being able to not just see it this way, but to actually see a visual memory map where it's a graphic, it allowed me to isolate down those bytes.
Right.
And this is so powerful. Okay, so this shows that all these bytes are uninitialized on page 0, and page 0 is epic for trying to save space.
Yeah.
Um, and so I would cascade through all the different ROM versions, okay, to make sure that the space was available in all of them. And that's after doing tape access and having after doing disk access to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that the core those are the only operations I need to work right. Everything else, not even the display over here.
Don't need
Okay, this doesn't
it.
even have to work right where it's doing character outright,
Right.
but it's got to be able to load and save.
Right.
And so that was key for me getting the amount of 0 page necessary. But even then, okay, I use stack space now.
Mm-hmm.
Version 4, I use every byte,
Right.
to get there. I did all this work with his memory map. Maybe I do have a. Nope, that wasn't. I was hoping I saw it there, but it wasn't.
No.
He's got it somewhere. I'm
You used
just
it, so it's there.
yeah, it's there. I'm not going to waste any more time on it.
It's okay.
But after all this work, right? Okay, so I found all these memory holes. I ended up with 200 bytes to work with. Okay, and to implement the range spell took about 450.
Right.
Okay, so I was out of memory long before I implemented the full 450,
Mm-hmm.
which meant code hunting and optimizing And I know on your questions, this is what made me think of it. But you were asking if my coding skills got better, and I will have to say I leveled
Oh, I'm
in
sure.
assembly
Yeah.
language. Um, I've the last time I used assembly was probably in the 90s.
Right.
Um, and I was good. I mean, this graphics card here,
Yeah.
or this card here was made for the Apple II. This is actually
Right.
a version 2 of it. But I made that all the ROMs. I had programmed that. I
Right.
worked for an education software company, and so I made graphics drivers and
Yeah.
hardware ROMs. Um, and that all started thanks to the PET. Um, in high school, my dad showed off. I made an amortization schedule program for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted me to make a program to calculate the energy efficiency of houses.
Yeah.
And when I did it, he showed it off at work. And that landed my first jobs.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay. I ended up being a childhood prodigy,
Yeah.
and basically by 18, I was a master of assembly language and, set up my whole career. I knew what I was going to be from that point forward. So,
It's nice when you can figure that out. Like, I didn't figure it out till my mid 20s that, like, I should be in computers. And my parents finally were like, took you long enough. All you ever did in your teens and early 20s was program. And you're like, I don't want to do that for a job. Why not? Why aren't you doing it? Go.
and part of it is, look back on it. I was a dreamer in school.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it was because I was bored. I
Yeah.
wasn't being challenged, I don't think, but part of it was because I was so behind on reading because of my dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
And so that combination of being bored and being a dreamer and thinking, once the Commodore PET fixed everything because I
Right.
started having to read those manuals. That's not trivial stuff,
No.
you know. And it righted me, and like
Yeah.
nothing else could have. So I'm really thankful, that the computer came in my life because it did give me a focus and direction, craven direction.
It was similar for me. I think the thing I liked about it most is because by the time I got it, I was in this little farming town in the middle of Wisconsin, and no one else did this stuff. So no help was coming. If I had a problem, I had to figure it out. I wasn't gonna, there was no internet, wasn't gonna look it up there. I had to just figure it out. And it became incredible that first, like, really solving a hard problem, that adrenaline hit you get, like, you'll be chasing that the rest of your life once you have it.
I agree. It's amazing how similar, because I grew up in a one-story town as well.
Yeah.
This place in Milton, Florida.
Okay.
And I had one friend close enough, and me and him were mad at each other for a year. It happens. You're
Yeah.
12, 13, that's got to happen.
We're not going to talk now for a
And
while. Yeah. No.
exactly. So, with it being a one-story town, there was nothing else to do. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to put my passion into that code. And
Yeah.
it was just awesome, just awesome. And we eventually we moved to Gainesville when I was in high school, Gainesville, Florida, and that had a lot more opportunity. But like you, in my early years, I had no one to ask,
Right.
and by the time I could ask, I didn't need to ask
Right.
anymore. The manuals were good enough, you know. So,
You read, you
but
try, you fail, you do it again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another retro game that had a huge impact on me
Yeah.
was Legends of Kesmine.
I don't know that one.
Okay, and most people don't. It was a CompuServe thing, and that was too
Oh.
expensive for my blood. But it Legends of Kesmai. Okay, so this is here is my note manual for
Oh,
Legends of Kesmai. Okay, and it showed how much I enjoyed it, but it was the first graphic MMO. Okay,
okay.
and at the time I was in education, so I had Macs and Apples.
Hmm.
Okay, this game only ran on
Of
PCs.
course.
I purchased a PC to play it
Oh,
after,
nice.
my brother
Yeah.
was playing it, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's more than one player." And I mean,
Do that.
one of the first MMOs. I'm sure there was others out there, but it's the one I know,
Yeah.
and just absolutely awesome. Simple graphics, amazingly simple tile-based game as far as graphics go.
Right.
But yeah, it had huge impact. Um, I think we were talking about, a Calibeth, of course, Ultima. I
Right.
thought that was just an incredible game. I wasn't too much into the games like, uh, you know, uh, open door,
Right.
Zork style games
Yeah.
just didn't appeal to me as much as stuff that was graphic oriented. So Ultima had a huge impact. Wizardry had an impact, and then much later, games that had more personal feel,
Hmm.
like Secret of Mana is a good
Okay.
example. Okay, or even though the hero is young, you know, you end up being kind of driven by his personality.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, they still have, I mean, Expedition 33 Mael, for
Right.
example, or Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. You've got these heroes that have these personalities, and while you can change some things,
Hmm.
you still see their personality and you feel like you're playing them.
Right.
And that's where I appreciate your play testing, because I do want personality to this. This hero has a personality. He is
Right.
Frederick. He is obviously a hero,
Right.
but how dark is he?
Right.
You know, is he, going to be, how giving is he to other people, that sort of thing. And I don't have much involvement there, but I did ask a few key questions that do change the display text at the end.
Okay.
Okay, and it just gives it that personal feel where you've made some decisions, like Mayo
Yeah.
in Expedition 33.
Like that was gonna be my question, because when I sit down to like start a tile based thing up, my brain immediately goes Ultima One. It's you. Like you are in total control of who this person is. And as we're going through and I'm seeing dialogue come up, I'm like, I'm not totally in it. This is a character I'm playing, as opposed to I'm doing this. And
Right. And you made a great analogy when we were talking, and I did make the decision. He is a personality. He
mhm,
is like Conan, which was your example.
yeah,
Especially and because I reread through all the screens after we talked, and I did do way too much dialogue on that one spot you were talking about.
yeah,
And so I got rid of that screen, but the other stuff I felt was needed for him to be him, for
yeah.
Frederick to be Frederick.
I don't. Yeah, and I want to say, like, I don't think there's a better or worse way. There's just different ways. That this is yours and this is someone else's, and that's cool. Like, it didn't make me not have a good time or not enjoy the game. It just I had to change. Oh, this is this kind of game, and then
Right,
I
right.
could lock in the groove and go with it. And
And honestly, I was putting more doubt into you with that whole thing. That whole page was to create where it wasn't
cut and
as
dry.
cut and dry with a simple, well, you're going to just do it the way you want. I was
Mhm.
trying to be a
Yeah.
little evil in my dungeon mastering.
No, and that can be fun. Like, let's like feed this out. I'm like, oh, maybe because yeah, then you've got a question a little bit later. We're like, how do I want to approach this guy, and how do I want to do
But
this.
in the end, it wasn't needed, and
Right.
I like it because the setup is so much better. Because then you can just make your choices,
Right.
and it doesn't change who Frederick is. He
Right.
is still Frederick in the end. Um, you know, um, is there anything else you wanted to see here?
That's what I was gonna say.
Um,
I'm kind of like, I'm not sure if I've got anything else to ask. We worked through these, most of it without even me needing to steer us that direction. So I'm loving it. Just kind of worked out. Yeah. Is there anything you want to cover? One more time before we kind of wrap it up here. Your Kickstarter's
um,
coming. You'll have some announcements soon, I presume.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so it's going to be in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to position it after because I really appreciate you
No, no
taking the
problem.
time with me because I am going to deploy it because of you at this time.
Cool.
Um, so I deeply appreciate
Yeah. No,
this
not at
time you
all.
spent with me. Um, and the only I'm trying to sell a house, so
So there's
that's
other
the
stuff going
only
on too.
thing
Yeah.
that could get in the way. But I don't see it. At worst, it would be a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so it's going to be it's definitely in the near future.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm glad you asked about that. I kind of went off on my own tangent
No, it's
completely here.
perfect. That's exactly what we
Um,
wanted. Tangents are fun.
yeah. So you were asking about the Kickstarter in your lists.
Yeah.
And one key thing that had to happen for the Kickstarter is I had to make my own emulator.
Right.
Vice is just too hard to get running. Possibly not for Windows, but I know like when I tried to install it on Linux or when my friends tried to install it on Linux, they couldn't get it working. And when they did, the keyboard didn't work right or the audio didn't work right. And
Mm-hmm.
audio is a huge indicator with this. So writing my own emulator, and in this case, I had a great base. I talked to Thomas Skibo, and he said, "Sure, please do." And he says you can use it anyway in his disclaimer, as
Right.
long as you give credit where credit's due. But I made sure I reached out, and he certainly appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I modified his emulator so that it could support audio, multiple file I/O, game keyboard, etc. And customizations like the save and load, so you could easily get your character back, and it was saved not in the you know uh, program or the D64, for example, disk image,
Right.
but it's actually saved onto your computer. So this was huge. I may put this on Steam.
Oh,
I think that would be cool.
that would be fun.
Um, and I just don't know how much I'm going. At minimum, you'll be able to download it. I've got executables for Macintosh, Windows, and Linux.
Nice.
So you'll be able to play it, and you can just open this web page. If you notice, I've just got it open as a direct hyperlink.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't require Ajax calls or anything, so it'll just run right from the file browser.
I was surprised how well it ran just from the file browser, and I'm sure for some people who want to run from their phone or do something like that, that was just a nice touch. I liked
Well, thanks. Yep. Let me show some of the rewards.
that. Yeah.
Because I did get some prototypes. Um, so I've got these. Let's see.
Little
I
minis.
don't know how well you're, but yeah,
Yeah.
you've got all the main characters. I'm trying to get this
Oh,
photo.
nice.
Okay, so these are all the main characters that you meet. And in fact, I'll bring them up on the screen so that you
Mm-hmm.
can see them better. Okay, and then I've got this cool cloth map.
Oh man.
Okay, and I know this is small, but I'll also bring that up.
Yeah.
Um, and then I've got, I had to make sure I had the prototype for the game box real
Oh,
well here.
lovely.
Okay, so it's actually, I've proven that it prints correctly,
Right.
from for production.
So you're
Um,
already part of the way into things. I know a lot of people have become really gun shy about Kickstarters. So knowing that there's already a game there, seeing that you've got some hardware stuff done, you're in the prototype stage, like I think that'll help give people some comfort that this isn't going to be one of those we'll never see it come out.
yeah, and the places I found for the cloth map and all that kind of thing, they do short production runs, obviously, as well as this printer.
Hmm.
So I don't have it doesn't matter how many,
Right.
I build. So that actually makes the Kickstarter where I can put a lower value on the minimum,
Yeah.
because it just isn't that much overhead to getting it started, and I can have some cool stuff included.
Hmm.
On as some of the rewards, I'm also going to have a T-shirt, but I don't have the T-shirt
Yeah.
made yet,
Yeah.
but I don't see it as high risk. I think everyone
T-shirts
makes
aren't a high risk
exactly.
Fair enough.
So it's all there. With some of the higher end ones, I found I may include a brand name dice tower
Oh,
just
nice.
because it's a really freaking cool one.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it goes with the D&D theme. I've got, a cloth map. I've got these minis. And so if you've got a dice tower with some dice, well, cool. You've got everything
You got
for
all you need right now to
you know,
start. Yeah.
so, and that is it at its core. You can tell this is very much D&D, even though I'm
Hmm.
not using any of the D&D lookups or anything
Right.
like that. This is all, um, in fact, because it's such a pipeline, there's no way I could,
Right. Well,
in the
no, and
memory
that's one of the
space that
things. Like, I don't know if you watch any D&D YouTubers or anything like that, but there's been a little conversation sort of percolating under some of it about corporate D&D, the people who own Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast proper, and then folk D&D, which is what most of us do. No one really uses all the rules in the book. No one really uses all the stuff. Every table's got its own little personal tweaks and tellings on it. And if you're
Sure.
rolling dice and using numbers on a paper, you're kind of playing D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And the dice within this, of course, they're 32 sided for the most part.
So you need some special dice.
Yeah, yes. And I did look up, but they're way too expensive.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no. When you start getting into weird ones, like you could maybe squeeze out some D6s, but
Yeah,
no, 32 is going to be
exactly.
a rough sell. Okay.
But
Um, yeah, so one last chance. Anything else you want to say before we wave goodbye to the folks at home and we'll head out?
we talked about upgrades, and I'll keep the speed high just because I'll
Okay.
go back over here. I'm going to go over to the
Yeah.
enchanter. This is where you get your items enchanted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you get basically upgrades. When you have items that have a core value of 14,
Mm-hmm.
he gives a huge an increase
Right.
in the enchantment for the weapon. Anything less than 14 is just one point extra, but that makes a huge difference.
Right.
Okay. And you can tell from this, okay, so the main and offhand in this case are fairly cheap, but these get more expensive as you get more expensive items in the game. Um, and then your heal is always 100. Okay, and this is the bolt upgrade that we were
Right.
talking about. Okay, and just so that people actually see it, I'm gonna cast the bolt spell just so that you can see its
Yeah.
range. Okay, so I'm gonna do it. So you got your choice for direction, your
Mm-hmm.
IJKO, and I press I, and there it went up the whole screen. I'll do it a few times because it's very fast.
Yeah.
Okay, but if it were to hit something, you would see it damage, and of course you see my number of bolts now is 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I no longer have the ability to cast that.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I hope everyone enjoys it.
Oh, I think they will. I think it's good.
It was it was addicting building it, which is what kept me coming back. Um, you know, I can't explain it any other way. In fact, I was doing modern game development when this bug hit me in January, and you can tell on my YouTube pages where I was. 'Cause I just made 3D landscape terrain. I was getting real current with my tools with Godot, and you know, made really cool fog effect with the water when you were looking underwater and all that,
Right.
and dropped it like a rock
And then you're
once I
like,
found
nope, I need to
money.
go back to what matters.
Exactly. Yeah.
I get it. I get that urge very much so. All right. Yeah, let's call it there. I'm so glad you came and joined us here for this, and hopefully the Kickstarter and everything goes great for you. I'm really looking forward to it.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you much. Thanks everybody. We will talk to you all soon.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.